This summer, the NBA offseason featured a ton of excitement throughout as we went from the fun of the NBA draft almost immediately into free agency mania, and along the way there has been a few big marquee trades made as well to help form some new contenders. Most of the biggest moves have already been completed at this point in the offseason, and things have settled down, but moves are still far from finished. There are still some very talented players available in free agency that are without teams, which brings us to the topic of today's video. Today, we'll be talking about 6 players in particular, who for some reason are still available free agents, and all 6 of them are absolutely capable of playing a big role in a team's rotation. Winning teams and teams looking to solidify their rotations alike should all be looking at these guys because they bring valuable skill sets in various different ways. Before we start though, it turns out about 60% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be discussing that still hasn't signed with a team yet for some inexplicable reason is Lauri Markkanen. Markkanen is in a completely different category than the rest of the players we'll be talking about in this video because he's a young player at 24 years old who has had some very productive seasons in the NBA already. In his second season with the Bulls, he was averaging about 19 points and 9 rebounds per game, and at that point, it seemed like he was destined to become a borderline all-star level player at some point. He still absolutely can excel, but the last 2 seasons exposed a bit more of his weaknesses, and his overall production has decreased in that span, hence why there's less interest in him than anticipated. He's still a 7-footer that can confidently and competently space the floor as a shooter, having shot 40% from 3 last season, and he has a unique ability to create his own shot at that size, which is a skill set that should be intriguing for any team looking to spark their offense. However, the real concern with Markkanen comes on the defensive side of the ball. He's probably best suited to play power forward offensively, but he can't really hold his own on defense against other modern power forwards. This seems like a situation where Markkanen is holding out for a big offer that just may not come, so wherever he lands will likely be on a shorter term deal where he'll look to prove himself for that next big contract. The next free agent still available that can definitely help out any team's rotation is Avery Bradley. Bradley is a two-way combo guard who, at one point, was viewed as one of the very best perimeter defenders the league has to offer. He's a prototypical 3-and-D wing guy who you can trust to pester some of the opposing team's better players, and offensively, he doesn't need the ball in his hands a ton to be effective. The last 2 years have unfortunately been riddled with injuries for him, so he hasn't necessarily been at his best in that span, and of course the NBA is very much a what have you done for me lately kind of league, but he's got a ton of playoff experience, he's still not even that old at 30 years old, turning 31 in November, and he's not going to require that much money to be signed. He was a regular contributor to the Lakers team in 2020 that won the championship before he opted out for the conclusion of that season because of COVID, and I don't necessarily think 1 year off, derailed by injuries, should have lowered his interest that much around the league as much as it has, so he, I do believe, will be on a team by the time the season begins. The next player still available in free agency that showed he can help a team in spurts last season is DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins has become a pretty polarizing guy in the NBA world over the last few seasons, also because of injuries, and while they definitely have slowed him down from his previous days as one of the best big men in the whole league, last year with the Clippers in the playoffs, he had some vital stretches for them where he proved that he could still put in work and score in bunches. His perimeter jumper has improved a ton, so now you have to respect him as a three-point shooter. He's still a strong force in the middle who can overpower smaller big men in the paint for easy buckets, and while his defensive mobility is worrisome, you don't need him playing big minutes necessarily at this point, so as a backup big man, he can still give you productive minutes. The next free agent somehow still available right now is Paul Millsap. Millsap has had a long, successful career as a former multiple-time All-Star and member of some very good Hawks and Nuggets teams as of late. When you're a team looking to win a championship, you need a good balance of star talent, productive role players, veteran experience, and locker room leadership. And even though Millsap's best days as a player are behind him, and he doesn't necessarily bring that star talent anymore, he absolutely checks those last two boxes. He's still an above-average perimeter shooter, he competes hard defensively and brings a level of versatility where he can defend both forwards and centers, and he does a lot of the little things that get missed out on the box score. He's made it clear that he wants to play for a contender in this upcoming season, and I do believe one of the top teams will eventually take a chance on him, because experience can't be overvalued in the quest for a championship, and he's got plenty of it. The next free agent that I definitely believe should be getting more attention than he's gotten so far is Jaren Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a more underrated player in the league and on this list, as his last 2 seasons were spent in Minnesota with the Timberwolves, where he slowly but surely began to emerge. When he was drafted in 2018, he was incredibly raw as a prospect, and he didn't exactly flash much in his first 2 seasons. But even though his production in the box score isn't exactly eye-popping from last year, he really started to show off tons of promise off the bench for the Wolves. He runs the floor hard and ranked in the 83rd percentile in transition offense. He finished 6th in the league in cut frequency, showing that he's very active off the ball, looking to create opportunities for himself that are easy with his movement. He can be used as a small ball center who excels in the pick and roll, and defensively, he's learning to use his 7-foot 1-inch wingspan to his advantage. He's someone that any team, rebuilding or contending, could take a flyer on and potentially get rewarded with an impact sub for years to come. And finally, the last free agent available that we'll be discussing today is JJ Redick. Redick finally started to slow down a bit last season after years of providing premier sharpshooting for the Clippers, 76ers, and Pelicans, but after a feud with the Pelicans front office and a move to Dallas where he was basically shut down for the year, he'll want to get back in action while he still has something left in the tank. If there's one thing that's always valuable in the NBA, it is shooting, and Redick can definitely still bring that. I could see him having the kind of role on a contender that Kyle Korver had at the end of his career, where he played very brief stints in minutes and just fired up threes every chance he had. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below which team you think should sign these 6 players. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.